the gangs and actually do it.
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys tonight, late edition. Let's do all of these front pages then, shall we? Breaking tonight.
A few had a third position. It is broken, but we can't say so, because the Conservative Party broke it.
Well, it's still on quite a few of these front pages, actually, for tomorrow, as Jenrick vows to fix broken Britain without the Tories. That's the Daily Express's front page. Plus,
I don't expect people in public office or in public service to be infallible. I don't expect them to be perfect. I do expect them to be honest.
well, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting there, talking about the importance of honesty, but let's have a look at this front page, The Times. We've learned tonight that apparently Cabinet colleagues are urging Keir Starmer to sack Wes Streeting for disloyalty. Oh, well, there we go. Also,
We've had that ruling, which has ruled that the Trust did discriminate against us. So we're really happy about that.
yeah, fantastic story. So we're going to cover it tonight. We didn't get round to it in the last show, but those Darlington nurses are celebrating, as they should, a massive victory in a trans row employment tribunal. But Labour is now told on the front of the Daily Mail, start protecting all women. Get your act together. Make sure you protect women's spaces. No excuses. So we're going to be talking very much about that as well. And if you were tuning into the last show as well, you heard Bill Rammell there with a bit of an exclusive line, a very important line, actually, about the latest developments from Iran. Is it true, really, that they've started using chemical weapons against their own people? If they have, where is our red line on that? All of that coming your way. Well, joining us this evening, we have got the top team of Reform UK candidate Orla Minahan, journalist and broadcasting royalty Christopher Ufas, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Really loads to go out here. Let's do it after we hear from Tatiana.
Patrick, thank you. The top stories. Britain is not broken, Kemi Badenoch has insisted in a rebuke to Robert Jenrick after he defected to Reform UK. The Conservative leader is attempting to offer a more positive message to voters than her one-time Shadow Justice Secretary who defected to Nigel Farage's party yesterday. Mr Jenrick described Britain as broken, something he blamed on both the Conservatives and the Labour Party, and insisted only Reform could fix it. Mr Jenrick was sacked by Tory leader leader Kemi Badenoch over what she called clear, irrefutable evidence that he was conspiring to jump ship. Speaking during a press conference alongside Nigel Farage, Mr Jenrick called his former party rotten, dishonest and no longer fit for purpose. Nick Timothy, the News Shadow Justice Secretary, said he did not recognise the Tory party Mr Jenrick had described. The police watchdog will continue to look into the decision to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from attending a Europa League football match and the actions taken by West Midlands Police in the wake of Craig Guildford's retirement. Mr Guildford faced pressure over a decision to ban Maccabi fans from a match against Aston Villa last year. Downing Street says it no longer had confidence in Mr Guildford after a report into the decision to ban the fans. The Home Secretary said today by stepping down he has done the right thing today. Craig Guildford says the political and media frenzy around his position had become detrimental to the force. Simon Foster, the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner, spoke today.
The Chief Constable, Craig Guildford, has today retired from West Midlands Police with immediate effect. In doing so, he has acted with honour and in the best interests of West Midlands Police and our region. I welcome his decision. I'm pleased this outcome has been reached having regard to due process and the law.
An NHS trust indirectly discriminated against nurses by allowing a transgender woman to use a female changing room, a tribunal has ruled today. A group of nurses won a partial victory against County Durham and Darlington NHS Trust. The NHS Trust was found to have violated the dignity of the nurses and harassed them by requiring them to share a changing room with a biological male and not taking seriously their concerns. However, it dismissed several other claims, finding that Rose Henderson, who's a biological male, had not harassed or victimised the claimants. And US President Donald Trump has threatened to place tariffs on nations that do not go along with his ambitions to annex Greenland. He did not say which countries might be hit with new tariffs or what authority he would invoke to use such import taxes in pursuit of his goal. Donald Trump has said Greenland is vital for US security and Washington would get it the easy way or the hard way, an apparent reference to buying the island or taking it by force. Denmark has warned that military action will spell the end of NATO, the transatlantic defence alliance where the US is the most influential partner. Those are the latest GB News headlines from me. It's over to Patrick.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Good evening. Let's give you all of Saturday's newspaper front pages. The Independent. Why didn't they fire him? Police chief in fan scandal retires. Again, you know, he's like the Independent, left-wing newspaper. No, they are posing that question. Why didn't they fire that police chief? That shows the strength of feeling. The I-paper, spy Jenrick takes Tory secrets to Farage, but new power struggle starts in reform. They say that a power struggle is predicted in Nigel Farage's inner circle. Jenrick is expected to be given a plum job in the team currently top of UK opinion polls. So there we go. We'll see what happens there. Let's go to the Daily Express. We will fix broken Britain, but not together. Read what Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick have to say about their political split in the Daily Express. Kemi versus Jenrick. The Sun. So, Jimmy Mizzen. Well, his killer apparently duped Marcus Rashford, the footballer. And England footy star Marcus Rashford was duped into posing alongside the masked murderer of teenager Jimmy Mizzen. Jake Farry put the picture online to boost his drill reps. He killed Jimmy in London in 2008. The Sun can reveal that Farry's move to an open jail has been blocked. Yeah, I mean, it's just a ridiculous story. To be fair, with Marcus Rashford, I will say I don't think there's any. I mean, also the guy's wearing a balaclava, so I mean, even with the best one in the world, how are you going to tell? Even if you did know him, which he obviously didn't. So there we go. Anyway, the Mirror. Farage can't be trusted with Britain. This is Defence Secretary John Healey warning of the threat to national security. He says, he just says, I wouldn't trust him with national security. So there you go. The Daily Mail, Labour is told now protect all women. Huge story, this, massive. It's the Darlington nurses. They've been on GB News so many times, and good for them. I hope they're having a fantastic Friday evening. I really do, because they've worked incredibly hard for this. They are female nurses, crucial emphasis on the word female there, female nurses who've won a landmark tribunal over a trans colleague sharing a changing room. Basically, it showed that they were discriminated against, where they had their dignity violated by the NHS Trust, who tried to make them share a changing room with a bloke and then put them in a broom cupboard when they said no. So well done them. But that line now is Labour told to protect all women. Let's go to the Daily Star. Trump's Ig Nobel Peace Prize. It's not yours, put it down. Donald Trump shows off the Nobel Peace Prize, which has been gifted to him by the actual winner, who was Marina Mercado, who I believe, am I right in saying this, she could well become Venezuela's next leader?
Yeah, although Trump's done a deal with, Maduro's deputy to prop that disgusting regime up.
Well, there you go. Anyway, what a world, eh? The Guardian, back my Greenland plans or face tariffs, says Trump. Donald Trump threatened yesterday to impose tariffs on countries that did not go along with his plan to annex Greenland. He's increasing the pressure. He's ramping it up. Let's go to the Daily Telegraph. Badenoch, Britain is not broken. Now, this is a really fascinating headline in the Daily Telegraph, actually, because Robert Jenrick yesterday gave that speech during which he said, when he was in the last Shadow Cabinet meeting, they were asked, is Britain broken? And he said the party line is to say Britain is not broken. Excuse me. And here she is saying it. Tory leader fires broadside at Jenrick and says that our best days are ahead. There is a great story, though, down the side of the Telegraph. Labour would face wipeout if the elections went ahead. So these 27 or so authorities where elections are now not going to go ahead, roughly speaking, 4 million voters will not get a vote. And it turns out they've crunched the numbers on this, and Labour majorities on 10 councils would be wiped out if council elections were to go ahead. The figures suggest that Keir Starmer's party would lose half of the seats it was due to defend in May if it had not blocked dozens of elections from happening. So there you go. Those are the stats. The Times, PM under pressure to get rid of Wes Streeting. So apparently 3 cabinet ministers in Labour are hitting out, saying that Wes Streeting is being disloyal and Sir Keir Starmer needs to get rid of him. Well, he has, you could argue, a little bit like maybe Robert Jenrick was, kind of on manoeuvres, but in the Labour Party recently. Will Starmer get rid of him? It's going to be a tough one, that, because I'm very critical of the performance of the wider NHS, don't get me wrong. I think some great people who work in the NHS. I think it's very bad management. But of what has been I would argue, a pretty catastrophic time in government so far, the one thing that Keir Starmer can cling to is getting appointments up. A general perception. I think the way that he handled the junior doctor strike was pretty good. So, does he get rid of him? I don't know. Final paper, Daily Mail, Labour is told... Oh, no, we've done it. Sorry. Oh, there you go. Right, OK. We've Labour protect all women. Anyway, right. So that's that. OK. Can we bring up the Daily Telegraph, please? Because it's got 2 stories side by side here, which I think go really well together. So you've got Kemi Badenoch saying Britain is not broken. It's this ongoing war now between Kemi Badenoch, Robert Jenrick, the Tories and Reform. So the right is split at the moment, in a sense. But then you've got down the side, Labour would face a wipeout if these elections were to go ahead, the ones that were being cancelled. Krista, what do you make of that kind of those 2 stories juxtaposed there together?
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting and it's worrying in equal measure because, you have your objective and then you have your super objective, if you like. So the objective is obviously that for the good of the UK, in my humble opinion, Labour have to go. They are, I think, quite possibly the worst government we've ever had in history. I think that they have no ideological direction. I think that Keir Starmer believes in nothing, and they have been disastrous. So what this story is saying is that if these local elections that have been cancelled go ahead, they would be wiped out. If we look at that on a national level, yes, on paper that might look the same. But you're quite right. We now have this split on the right, don't we? And what's become quite a toxic argument between Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick going to Reform. And my fear is that, and I've made my feeling clear on this. I'm disappointed in Reform for accepting old Tories because it doesn't give the impression that they are a change. But will that infighting undermine the super objective, which should be getting rid of Labour? And if this carries through to a general election, would we end up in a situation where the vote on the right is so split that actually, whilst Labour on paper would look disastrous, actually they could end up coming through, or a hung parliament with the Liberal Democrats because the right is so split?
Or worse, the Greens.
Oh, the Greens as well thrown in, you're right. And so that's my big fear. And so, whilst on the one hand, yes, Reform, I don't think it was the wisest move. I think they missed an own goal by actually saying, we don't want any more ex-Tories. On the other hand, should those on the right actually just kind of get over themselves and try and unite because Labour are so disastrous?
There is actually a really big... If you just look at those two stories side by side here and you think about what this means, not just for all of us, just the British public, the voters, just normal people, it's quite bad, this, right? So the Tories... bit of freefall maybe, Jenrick's just gone, then OK, Reform now. I'm a fan of Robert Jenrick. I've interviewed him loads of times. I do think that he has had more of a conversion to the right than what some people will say will accuse him of. I don't think it is entirely opportunistic. That's my view, but. OK, there's people that are in Reform who are not happy with the way that Reform's going. Nadeem Zahawi, I think, is the big one, to be honest with you. But now with Jenrick. But then you look to the right there, well, Labour are facing a wipeout if the elections went ahead and they cancelled the elections. I mean, the big loser in all of these stories is the British public, isn't it?
Correct.
And that's a problem for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that... And when you say unite the right, what do you mean by that?
I mean that basically the objective for the good of the country, in my opinion, is to get rid of Labour.
Oh, correct.
I mean, that should be, and so my worry is that the right is split, and I say it naively because you're right. I don't know. You're right, but you're also right. Because I don't know how that could be achieved until after an election, and if one of them is the biggest party. I just really worry about these defections and what's happening because I just think it's going to undermine getting rid of Labour.
I agree. I just think that the concept of uniting the right is just not doable.
And it's naive.
It's no, because Conservatives aren't going to merge with Reform, and Reform will ultimately take most of the vote, but it will leave some stragglers and Conservatives, obviously. So there's. Do you know what? We're in a very, very troubling, political landscape, I think, at the moment, on so many levels.
For the right, it's a troubling time for those people who just want right-wing politics and want to get rid of Labour.
I agree.
Let's go, Bill. I mean, Bill, obviously you're a Labour man. This headline telling Labour would face wipeout if elections went ahead. The figures suggest Sir Keir Starmer's party would lose half of the seats it was due to defend in May if it had not blocked dozens of elections from happening. It's a mega poll, apparently, by JL Partners. I'm kind of inclined to believe it. It does seem to be the way the wind's blowing. I mean, that's pretty bad. I mean, it looks like Labour are now just cancelling. We've got the data on this now. They're cancelling it so they don't lose.
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. They gave the option for the councils under reorganisation to request postponing the elections. However, and I've said this publicly before, I think this is a massive mistake by the Labour Party and by the government. You should never, in any circumstances, cancel elections. But there's a more serious point. I agree with Kemi Badenoch that Britain is not broken. We inherited an absolute atrocious mess. We are trying to rebuild it. That takes time. But in terms of where we are politically, YouGov, which I think is the gold standard of pollsters, this last week, Reform coming down quite a bit, 24%, the Tories 20%, Labour 19%. Now, am I happy with that? No, I'm not. But there is a fracturing of politics, and the idea that Reform are forging ahead is not borne out by the evidence. And I go back to the 1980s when I grew up politically, and the centre-left was split between the Labour Party and the Liberal SDP alliance, and the Tories governed on a minority vote. And I think there's a real risk for you guys that happens.
Let me give you some facts
in reverse.
I just want to give you the actual fact. I think this is really interesting. So voting intention across the councils where the elections are going to be delayed. Reform, 28.3%. Conservative, 20.7%. So a total there of 49%, that is, isn't it, for right-wing parties, basically. Then you've got Labour, 17.4%, Lib Dems, 16.2%, and the Greens, 13.3%. So the biggest losers in cancelled elections are obviously Reform and the Tories.
Do you know what? And one thing that I think that we need to be aware of that never ever seems to be brought up is the sectarian politics that we are seeing in places like Tower Hamlets, Luton, Rotherham, places like that, where there are a lot of independent or people going to stand, and they will win an awful lot of the vote as well, and we've seen that.
So we've got a great story on the front of the Times. I don't know if we can bring the Times up. Thank you very much. PM under pressure to get rid of Wes Streeting. Sir Keir Starmer is facing calls from Cabinet Ministers to sack Wes Streeting for, quotes, disloyalty and deepening splits in his top team. Ministers are increasingly frustrated with the Health Secretary's forthright public pronouncements and privately accused him of putting his leadership ambitions before the party. One Cabinet Minister said Starmer needed to learn from Kemi Badenoch, who this week sacked Robert Jenrick. What he's doing is so obvious. He's repeatedly breaching collective responsibility. He's attacking Number 10. He's undermining all of us. The Parliamentary Labour Party don't like what he's doing. They would back the Prime Minister if he sacked him. Bill.
I declare an interest. Wes is a mate of mine. And I'm a massive admirer. I think he is very able, he's persuasive, he's probably the best communicator we've got within the government. For want of a better phrase, he speaks human, and that cuts through to people. He's reforming and delivering on the National Health Service. You know, waiting lists are coming down. We promised, I forget the figure, the number of appointments, we doubled it in our first 18 months. And I don't think this has come from Number 10, because Number 10 have put out an official statement rejecting this criticism. But there are some people around Keir, they tried a drive-by shooting of Wes a few weeks ago, and it massively backfired, and they need to stop.
I agree.
Yeah, he is one of the only ones. I thought you might have got the impression tonight that I think that this government are absolutely horrific.
No.
But he's one of the only ones that I think seems to just actually have any kind of communication skills, charisma, and who you listen to, and you think, well, actually, of any of you, and it's, a pretty poor bunch, you're one of the ones that seems to be able to, as you say, Bill, cut through. And so, is it surprising that they're thinking now, well, actually, the only good communicator we might want to get rid of? Not at all, because they could, they could...
Absolutely.
Yeah, they couldn't do the proverbial in a brothel, in a brewery, or a brothel. Or both.
Wes is I mean, look, again, I'm not a Labour fan at all, but Wes is a rising star, and he is, I would say, the biggest threat to Starmer, and that is probably why this is occurring. Wes, I used to listen to him when he did his show or he used to cover on LBC, and again, not an LBC fan, but actually you could listen to him. He's a very, very genuine guy, has come up, come up through the ranks really quickly.
And he's got a life story that is really compelling.
The slight issue for Wes Streeting is that he looks like he's going to lose his seat, but so does Keir Starmer. So, there we are. And we are a long way off from the election, so don't get me wrong, but, the polls would indicate that maybe he's going to lose his seat. Now, you mentioned Wes Streeting. If there is a flaw with him, which obviously there is, but it would be on the gender stuff. And that is actually what we're going to talk about when we come back, because the Daily Mail's front page, Labour is told now protect all women, and that is in relation to the Darlington nurses who won a landmark tribunal decision. It's huge. It's hard to overstate how big this is. A judge ruled that NHS bosses had violated the dignity of 8 female nurses who won their legal challenge against the transgender woman and bloke being allowed to use their changing room. We're going to talk about that, and Bill Rummel has a bit of an exclusive for us as well, which we'll come to after the break, and it's in relation to Iran. I know our viewers and listeners care deeply about what's going on over there, even though, of course, it's in a different country. It impacts us all here, and we all have a heart, given what we're seeing. Is it true that the Iranian government, if you want to call them that, the Ayatollah, is using chemical weapons now against their own people? And if it is, well, what's our red line? What's Trump's red line? We'll talk about that. But in a screeching handbrake turn, some lighter news is the Great British Giveaway. It's 85 grand. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
There's only 2 weeks left to ensure you're in the draw to win our biggest cash prize so far. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours.
Hi, I'm Jane from Manchester. I won £54,321 with the Great British Giveaway. It is real, and it does happen to everyday people like myself. And that one text has just made my life 100% better.
But you have to hurry, as lines close on Friday the 30th of January. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, actually, I need to bring you a bit of breaking news. We're going to talk about this when we come back. It looks as though it has kicked off big time outside the Iranian embassy in Britain. So we've got that line from Bill Rammell, are the Iranians using chemical weapons against their own people? I'm just looking at some footage now, and there appears to be a bit of a pitched battle going on between protesters outside the Iranian embassy and the police. Some very, very disturbing stuff that I'm looking at here now. I'm going to get this for you when we come back.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Christianity is on the rise in Britain, with the younger generation said to be the driving force. It's great, isn't it? In an effort to preserve the UK's cultural and religious heritage. New polling by a Tier Fund also found that 45% of British adults are planning to attend church this Christmas, which is a sharp rise from recent years. But what other factors might be driving this renewal in faith? Joining me now is the wonderful parliamentary sketch writer, Quentin Lett. Quentin, really good to see you. Thank you for coming on. A brilliant piece in today's Daily Mail. Read every word of it, found myself nodding along. Tell me more about what you've written, why you've written it, and what's happening with Christianity in this country.
Well, good afternoon, Dawn. I would start with that poll that you've just been mentioning. And it said that 45% of adults are intending to go to, this is what it found, 45% of adults intending to go to a service at a church this Christmas. But a more interesting part of that poll is that when you look at the younger people, Gen Z, 60% of them are intending, and it's many, many fewer. It's half the number for us baby boomers and the silent generation who are older than us. So that suggests, does it not, that something is stirring in the pews. And there was some surprise in some senior church circles recently when Tommy Robinson, a right-wing politician, organised a carol service in Whitehall. Some of the bishops got very twitchy about this, but it does seem anecdotally that a lot of this growth in the church-going is, as you mentioned earlier, young men, but also perfectly possible that quite a lot of them are right-wing. Now, this is presenting the Church of England, which in recent years has started to look a little bit like the Liberal Democrat Party at prayer.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Well, this is breaking right now as we speak. It has kicked off big time outside the Iranian embassy in London. We're working on getting some footage for you. But from what we've been able to see anyway, due to our sources on the ground sending us videos that they've taken themselves, it looks incredibly nasty. Big clashes between police and some people who are protesting there this evening. I'm seeing pictures of people bloodied and bruised. and it's an incredibly volatile situation. Obviously, what has been happening recently, in light of everything that's been going on with the Ayatollah in Iran, is that people who want the Ayatollah out have taken to the streets outside the embassy and calling for him to go, trying to ramp up the pressure as well on the British government to do something about it and to maybe be a little bit more proactive. Well, Christo, you've been looking at some of this footage as well. Like I said, we're working on getting it to you, so do bear with us with that. But, Christo, what are you seeing?
And that's... A lot of people online are making the point. So there seems to have been some sort of clashes between protesters, people who are protesting the extreme Islamic regime in Iran by protesting outside that regime's embassy in London, and clashes between those protesters and the Met Police. Now, some people are saying, look, the Met Police have been really heavy-handed. They've been, using their batons. They've been very heavy-handed. Of course, the Met Police not here to defend themselves. They may have a different story as to what has gone on, but also a lot of people online making the point that these people are protesting an extreme Islamic regime, yet seem to have experienced, according to people here, a very heavy-handed approach by the Met Police. However, people who have been protesting who are pro-Palestinian on the streets in recent months and indeed the last couple of years seem to have been given a free pass by the police. So a lot of people making the point online, why, when you're protesting extreme Islam, are you getting a heavy-handed approach, but when you're not, you seem to be allowed to do what you like. Again, Met Police not here to defend themselves. They may say that it's different to what we're seeing.
Can I just say, I'm looking at some really quite bad footage here, actually, of what the police have got a man on the floor. We don't know what he's done, OK, so there is that. We don't know what he's done, but I'm looking at... This has been sent to me by someone who is there now. Again, we're trying to work on getting all this up for you and everything like that. Just battering a man on the floor with their, would you call it a truncheon or whatever?
And one of these people looks to be someone who is elderly, a 70-year-old man. A lot of footage of the police, again, apparently being very heavy-handed with him. He's saying, apparently, I can't breathe, and those sorts of things. But I'm seeing this footage of this 70-year-old man repeatedly.
So that's going on right now, OK? That's going on right now outside the Iranian embassy. We were going to stay on this, all right, but I'm going to go to Bill Rammell now because, Bill, you actually do have some really big breaking news as well from what's going on actually in Iran.
I do, but before I say that, let me just say a word about the protest that's taking place. We're party to something called the Vienna Convention, which entails protection for embassies regardless of conflict between countries. And normally we've been on the receiving end of countries abusing that, like Russia. So there is some context for why the police should, regardless of what we think about the Iranian regime, protect the embassy. However, I'm a member of the Labour Foreign Policy Group, and I received a report just before we came on air tonight. I hasten to add, this is not verified yet, but it's a credible report to me, and it says the city's prison is overcrowded with detained and arrested protesters. The court halls are filled with families of detainees, and no lawyers are being allowed to defend those who have been arrested. People believe that some kind of toxic chemical substance has been used against protesters, causing some of the injured to lose their lives days later. The number of those killed and injured is very high. If that is true, I think that's extraordinarily concerning.
Wow. So just to clarify on that then, Bill, the information that you seem to be getting there is from a credible source, so that the Iranian regime, the Ayatollah, might have used some sort of chemical weapon against their own people, against protesters, and we are now seeing a delayed reaction to that then. So we're a few days on from that, a couple of days on from that, and now we're starting to see loss of life as a result of that.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's history in this part of the region. You look at Saddam Hussein, who used gases against 5,000 people in Halabja and murdered them brutally. And I feel this has got real echoes of that.
Well, and where is our red line on this? Where is Trump's red line on this? I suppose that's the more pressing question, really, given that he would unquestionably be the one who would launch the first strike, if there is one. If this is true, no reason to doubt it. If this is true, that chemical weapons have been used on the Iranian people by the regime, I think all of that might be the sign to do something.
But the key question is, what do you do? Because it's very different externally, and I was part of it in government. Foreign interventions sometimes have adverse consequences.
I just think it's just got a nightmare written all over it. And the thing is, if Trump goes in, are we looking at what are the consequences? Are we looking? It's very, very volatile in the Middle East in so many aspects of the Middle East. Are we looking at a monumental escalation towards World War III. I don't know. It's terrifying. And what upsets me, and I think we always need to remember that in the middle of all this are people and families and kids, and it's just heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, just to emphasise that breaking line is that it appears from credible sources that the Iranian authorities may have used chemical weapons against their own people. That's going to take us a little while to digest, I think, really, and exactly what that means and the death toll, potential death toll, and what we're seeing. But at some point, Iran is going to properly turn its connections back on. We're going to have people being able to bring out videos and pictures of all of the horror that has undoubtedly happened in the last few days there, and the world is going to see it. And we've got that US fleet who's apparently on its way to Iran. It's going to take about a week to get there, supposedly. Yeah. At what point are we going to say, right, actually, that's it? Can I just bring you a breaking line, actually, as well, from what's going on outside the Iranian embassy here in Britain? Ugly, ugly scenes taking place outside there. Clashes between anti-Ayatollah demonstrators and the police. Accusations of the police being extremely heavy-handed. We've now got a statement from the Metropolitan Police. During the ongoing protest at the Iranian embassy this evening, a protester illegally accessed private property and climbed across multiple balconies onto the roof of the embassy and removed a flag. He's since been arrested by officers on suspicion of criminal damage, trespass and diplomatic property and assaulting police. A Section 35 order has been imposed as a result of ongoing disorder, including missiles being thrown at officers. Several officers have suffered injuries. So that's the Metropolitan Police's line on all of this. The footage, which, again, we will get to very, very soon, don't worry, just show the, heavy-handed police tactics, I would argue, but as Bill says, those diplomatic buildings have extra special protection.
But do that. Sorry, I mean, I respect that. But a lot of people are making this point on your say, and I understand why they're making it. Does the diplomatic protection of a building justify? And again, it's what we think we're seeing in these videos, potentially like an elderly person being held down and battered by the police. And I think it's about a question of proportion. And again, we need to be careful because we need to see, there's not a lot of context going on at the moment, but it does look like, and Patrick, I think you've seen a lot of this footage as well.
I've got a picture in front of me here of an elderly man with a battered head, blood coming from his nose, bruising all over his forehead. I mean, I'm telling you, that is not a good look for the police.
And these are people who are demonstrating against Islamic extremism, and it just plays into everything we were talking about earlier on about what is potentially two-tier in this country.
There's that contrast between the way... So recently, in fact, it was just a week or so ago, there were a load of pro-Palestine activists that protest outside an Israeli restaurant, just openly calling for the restaurant to go, harassing people who were going in it. And there was that footage of the police standing around not doing a lot, in fact, doing nothing. And then you've got this now.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, this is a live, ongoing incident, and we need to get to the bottom of what has happened and find out the truth. But I also think in terms of Western attitudes, and particularly of the Trump administration, there needs to be uniformity of response. And it's not just in Iran. In Syria at the moment, the new regime is murdering Kurds, and the Trump administration is just giving them a free pass, and it's really concerning.
It is, but this is what's happening here is on London streets, and a lot of people, again, on your say, are saying, look, they don't recognise the Met Police's version of what's happened, and that someone was on the first floor and they actually fell off the first floor whilst trying, I think, to change the flag from the Islamic regime's flag to the original Iranian flag, and that actually then the police set upon them. Again, that is in contrast to what the police are saying, but a lot of people are making that point.
Yeah. OK. All right. Well, look, we are working on getting some of this footage. I think we might actually be about to bring it... Yeah, there you go. Brilliant. OK, so this is outside the Iranian embassy in London. This is some of the footage that we've got. A line, a cordon of the Metropolitan Police there. You've got people waving the... some would argue, what would you say, the original Iranian flag, the old Iranian flag. Police appearing to move in on the crowd there. Now, this was sent in to us a few moments ago by somebody who was at the scene. So it's taking place, and this comes after there have been arrests. The Metropolitan Police say that several officers have suffered injuries. Missiles have been thrown at them. The other side of this are pretty adamant that they say that the police have acted, in their words here, and I'm quoting a reporter who's on the ground. They say the police have acted disgracefully. But again, obviously, the police are saying that this is very much a response to an ongoing situation. But yeah, scenes there outside the Iranian embassy in London. Right, we'll get more for you. We'll get more for you as we get it. But this is the breaking story of the night. And again, I don't want to lose sight here as well, given what we're seeing there, of what actually we think has maybe happened in Iran, which is that the Iranian regime has now been accused of using chemical weapons against its own people. So there we go. That's the latest. Loads more to come. We're going to be talking as well about Labour now being told to protect all women. The Darlington nurses won a landmark case today. They were discriminated against by the NHS Trust for being told they had to have a bloke in their changing room. So a big victory for them. That's next.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Could be quite a murky night ahead as the winds ease. The clouds going to lower, leading to some mist and fog in places as well. That's because the low pressure just to the west of us, that's filling, becoming less intense. So the blustery winds that we've had through today, well, they're going to be dropping out. There will still be some outbreaks of rain around, particularly around some eastern parts of Northern Ireland, and then feeding northwards up through parts of England and Wales, and later pushing into areas of southern Scotland as well. But many areas actually staying largely dry. A lot of cloud though, and as I mentioned, that cloud could be lowering, leading to some mist and fog and some murkiness. And even where we don't get that lowering cloud, clear spells could allow for a touch of frost and also some patches of fog to develop in other spots as well. So a bit of a grey, murky start across central and eastern parts of southern UK, a bit brighter perhaps across parts of Wales and the southwest of England. Lots of cloud, few outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and northern England, and similar across southern and eastern parts of Scotland. It's across northern Scotland where we're likely to have the clearest skies overnight and the brightest skies to start, but as a result, the greatest chance of some frost and some fog, maybe even freezing fog patches here as well. Through the day, there will be further outbreaks of rain around, perhaps a bit heavy at times in a few spots, all of that making its way northwards. Could see some sleet and snow over the high ground of Scotland, but that's going to become less of a thing as we go through the day. And then otherwise, well, some dry weather, even some bright sunny skies here and there, but worth noting if you're stuck under the cloud, which could linger all day, it's going to feel pretty cold indeed. Through into Sunday, and there's a chance of a swathe of wet weather pushing its way northwards across much of England, Wales and later into eastern parts of Scotland. Otherwise, it could be quite a grey, cloudy, murky start yet again, with a lot of fog in places too. Into next week, and there's more changeable weather to come. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, a late edition. We're going to actually stick with this breaking news, which is an ongoing massive incident taking place outside the Iranian embassy. There have been clashes between protesters and the police. We've now got some more video of you. I'm going to bring in Ben Leo, who is, of course, stateside for us, reporting for us. We're doing a show, hosting from there tonight for The Late Show live from midnight until 2 a.m. But I think whilst he's talking, we might be able to play you some footage of what's going on as well. Yeah, look, Ben, it's a bit of a developing story, this, obviously. You've been to a few protests in your time, mostly the pro-Palestine variety. I don't know if you had much of a chance to check out what's going on here, but pretty concerning the way that it's unfolding on the streets of London at the moment between protesters and police outside the Iranian embassy.
Yeah, I'm just watching live footage now as we speak. I'm learning about this as you guys are and the viewers back home. It looks pretty tasty indeed, is an understatement. I heard Bill's point about the sanctity of foreign embassies, fine, but still, as you mentioned, Patrick, before the break, the clip particularly of that old guy, he's not old, but older guy being bashed around is slightly concerning. I'm just watching live footage now. There's more people being bundled to the ground by cops. It's the kind of thing, and look, I hear the Met Police's response, and I'm sure they'll elaborate on what's happened shortly, but it's the kind of thing you see in other countries. And as you mentioned, maybe, Patrick, you don't really see this kind of response to the likes of the pro-Palestine protesters who marched down the streets calling for globalise the Intifada and all the other nonsense. So, yeah, it's very concerning. Actually, speaking of Iran, Patrick, I was at a press conference today in Washington, D.C., held by the exiled Crown Prince of Iran, Raza Pahlavi, who basically was telling the world that he is ready to take over should the Islamic regime fall. He thinks it will fall. He said it will fall quicker if America gets involved and President Trump intervenes, which he's calling for. But he said if America doesn't intervene, then at some point the Islamist despots will be out anyway. But he said this will be wrapped up far sooner if President Trump gets involved. He said he's ready to take over. He's got a transition plan in place. He says he has the support of the Iranian people. And as I said, he called for the US intervention. And he also asked, I asked him a question actually, which we'll show during the Late Show Live. We've got a clip of it. He also called on countries all around the world to prescribe the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, as a prescribed terrorist organisation, which, Patrick, in the UK, we currently don't do.
Yeah, we don't do, which is ridiculous, really, I think, when you look at some of the people that we're prescribing as well. You know, what can the justification be prescribing some of those groups and not the IRGC? I mean, they're the biggies, aren't they, really, when it comes to it? Yeah, it looks as though it's going to be, you know, a pretty ongoing situation outside the Iranian embassy for quite a while. We're getting a lot through online. Ben, can I just ask you, a couple, while we keep those footage on the screen, though, have you got a couple of other topics for us as well tonight?
Yeah, getting stuck into Iran. Elon Musk has had a big row with Michael O'Leary of Ryanair. Basically, Michael O'Leary said Elon Musk knows nothing about aviation. Musk replied by calling for Ryanair to sack him. Elsewhere, there's this mega poll released from The Telegraph today, maybe suggesting and showing the reason why Starmer cancelled those local elections, because this poll shows that reform would have absolutely swept all those areas that have been cancelled. And also ICE, the immigration authorities over here, this side of the pond, they've had a crack at the BBC, because the BBC, as they do in the UK with Welsh choir boys, they've described a illegal criminal migrant in Minneapolis as a very good, well-behaved Minneapolis man, quote unquote.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, that's just part of the course, isn't it? You know, we've had the Welsh choir boy, now we've got this. So there we go. Ben, look, thank you very, very much. Ben Leo there, who will be locked and loaded from midnight until 2 a.m. for us here on GB News. Let's just stick with this story. What you're looking at here now is scenes outside the Iranian embassy in London. Clashes, it appears, between protesters and police. Look, what the Metropolitan Police are claiming is that there was an individual who climbed the embassy, tried to remove the Iranian flag, as in the Ayatollah's flag, obviously, and replace it with the older Iranian flag of the Lion and the Sun. And that was tantamount to an alleged criminal damage, etc. They then tried to arrest that person. What they then say is that missiles, objects have been thrown at police. Police officers have suffered injuries. There is very much another side to this, and that is the side that is currently doing the rounds on social media. And there is some really pretty ugly stuff coming out at the moment, which appears to show people battered, bloodied, bruised, being hit with truncheons by the police as well. Question marks, aren't there, about the scale of the policing there and how aggressive they are. And whilst Ben Leo was talking now, I know, Christo, you're with us here. You've been having a look online, haven't you? Have you got any more information for us?
Well, I've got a couple more sort of points of view, actually. You're quite right. The Met Police are saying that this was the case and that they were sort of essentially protecting the embassy. But a gentleman called Eddie on Your Say says that they've been watching it, all of this live stream all night, and that there were hundreds of police, not very many protesters, that they weighed in mob-handed and they hit two elderly men, one of whom was attempting to ensure good order. The lad who tried to change the flag, so he acknowledges that someone tried to get onto the embassy but fell off the ledge, and then it was the police that then charged onto him. However, a guy called Alan has also been looking at the footage, saying actually the police, it was their duty to prevent an individual climbing onto the embassy, and it was they who came under attack with missiles and are policing that. So it's still a bit of a hazy picture, but certainly I agree with you. What the pictures we're seeing online look like the police are being quite heavy-handed.
There's going to be a massive debrief of this well into the night, I think, isn't there, really? And people are, I think, Bill, going to be drawing the obvious comparison here, which is that the way that the police have handled certain other protests and other things that we've seen when it's come to, you know, pro-Palestine, etc., people climbing on monuments, desecrating them, spraying paint over buildings, all that, versus this.
Except there is the point I made, the Vienna Convention, and it is about protecting embassies regardless of the country. And why is that important? Because some people might say, you know, what's an international agreement got to do with this? It's about trying to ensure that whatever the conflict, whatever's taking place, diplomats can keep talking to each other. Yeah. And, you know, we've been on the receiving end. Those so-and-sos in Iran actually closed our embassy in Tehran. You know, the Russians attacked and closed down the British Council in Moscow.
OK. Orla, sorry about this. We've not got time to come to this segment, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. We'll do it when we come back. Yeah, we're going to keep up with that issue at the Iranian embassy. There is also this story I'm very keen to get to, which is the Darlington nurses winning a landmark case against the NHS. So we'll talk about that as well.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The weather's looking unsettled across much of southern Europe as we go through this weekend. Heavy rain affecting parts of Portugal, around the outskirts of Spain as well. Some significant snow building up over the Pyrenees. Even further east in other parts of the Mediterranean, hefty showery downpours with the risk of some thunder. And worth bearing in mind, strong gusty winds are going to lead to some rough seas as well. Staying pretty unsettled for some places as we go into next week. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
the People's Channel?
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are going to bring you any developments on this Iranian embassy. It's still ongoing. It's kicking off between police and protesters. But let's deal with the front of the Daily Mail for now, because it's another really big story, this. Labour is told now protect all women. The Darlington nurses victorious. They were made to change in a room with a bloke, pretending to be a woman, and they said it violated their dignity. They've won that case. They've taken that trust to court and won. Orla,
yes,
as our resident woman,
yes,
this evening, how do you feel?
You don't know how I identify.
And I don't care either.
I know how I identify. I think it's an absolutely fantastic outcome, and it shows that with enough grit and determination, and if you really passionately believe in something, you can make changes. And I think that they've done that. Absolutely, hats off to them. I'm sure that they were threatened with their jobs and everything else, and they stood. Yeah, I know exactly, and they stood by, and they demanded what was right, and they got what they got.
Just need to end this trans madness now. We need to end it. We need to end it in changing rooms, women's changing rooms, everything.
Sorry, go on, Bill.
Well, go on, sorry. But
look, I wholly welcome it's an employment tribunal decision today. It's common sense. I respect trans people, but women's safe spaces should be sacrosanct. And the broader point here is, we had the Supreme Court ruling that biological sex is what's happened. We're waiting for the government guidance, and I think it's taking a long time. Now, I'm reliably informed that Bridget Phillipson, who's responsible for this, she's on the side of the angels. She used to work in a women's refuge, and she wants to get the guidance right. OK, but it needs to come out as soon as possible.
Well, it's got to. And
I was just going to say the 300-page document that apparently they were working through that we discussed before. It's just so black and white, and there's no grey area, and it should be dealt with.
300 pages. If you have a penis, you shouldn't be in a women's safe space.
Yeah, and also this guy, by the way, we'll do the paper roundup. This guy didn't just have a penis; he also had a girlfriend, which would indicate that potentially he's not even fully committed to the old trans stuff, is he? But anyway, let's let's round up all of the papers again. The Independent. Why didn't the police fire him? This is in relation to the West Midlands constable. The I paper, spy Jenrick takes Tory secrets to Farage. The Express, we will fix broken Britain but not together. That's the Tories and Reform. The Sun, Jimmy Mizzen's killer duped Marcus Rashford. They had a picture together. The Mirror, Nigel Farage can't be trusted with Britain. That's the views of the Defence Secretary John Healey. The Daily Mail, Labour is told now protect all women. We just covered that. Darlington nurses. Daily Star, Trump's Ig Nobel Peace Prize. He was handed the Nobel Peace Prize by the real winner of it, of course, who was the Venezuelan lady. The Guardian, back my Greenland plans or face tariffs, says Trump. The Telegraph, Badenoch, Britain is not broken, which, to be honest with you, is exactly what Robert Jenrick said she would say, so he's kind of proving him right about his things there. But anyway, The Times, PM under pressure to get rid of streeting. We've already done the Mail, but, yeah, it's those Darlington women case there, so well done. Right, gosh, what a week, what a time to be alive. Thank you very much, everybody. We are going to keep it current here on GB News. I think Ben Leo is going to be giving you all the latest from those protests at the Iranian embassy as well.
Yes, we're getting stuck into what's happening in London, of course, with Iran. I was at a press conference today with the exiled Crown Prince Raza Pahlavi. I asked him a question which you'll be keen to find out what he answered to. And there's a massive mega poll just released. Why did Starmer cancel those elections? Maybe because Reform would have won the lot. More in just a tick.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus SMS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With a